Mama, me, mami, mamu. 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 Mama, me, mami, mamu.
Punctual, I see. A great virtue in a young actor. Have you been here long?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I was held up in traffic. Never mind. You've had the opportunity to learn your lines properly, I hope. You weren't exactly word perfect at yesterday's rehearsal.
No.
Well, it's rather an ordeal for a young actor like you to rehearse for the first time with Sir Ralph and Sir John, two great men of the theatre. That's why I asked you to come in this morning, because I had the impression yesterday that you didn't understand the play as a whole. I know you only come in the first act, but I suppose you've read the play as a whole?
No.
No? A bad fault, young man. A play, thank God, is not one of your wretched movies. In the theatre, we respect the word, and the writer of the word, and the actor who interprets the word. I'll help you to the best of my ability, but an actor is not a puppet as he is in the movies. You can't interpret the part without knowing the whole play. By the way, the play that they're doing at the Apollo is by the same author as ours, Frederick Privet, and it's been running now for 6 months. I only hope our Privet does as well. An interesting cluttered set, by the way. He didn't want the actors to move about too much between his lines. The play at the Apollo is in Privet's staccato style. You understand me?
No.
Well, in the Apollo play, he uses the very shortest of sentences. Sometimes they're only one word long. In our play, it's not the sentences, but the pauses which count. I oughtn't to say this, but he's learnt a lot from Pinter. Although he's not an imitator, mind you. His pauses are very different from Pinter's. They are Privet pauses. You must study these pauses very carefully, even in a small part like yours. You do understand me?
Yes.
Good. So let's begin your scene. Don't look at your script. I'll prompt you if necessary.
Yes.
Well, go on. Begin. Now is not the moment for a pause.
Yes.
Don't keep saying yes, just begin.
Yes.
Don't say yes, begin. Oh, I'm sorry. Of course, yes, that is the first word of your scene. I'd forgotten you began that way. Now, I'll read the other part. You, or rather, Henry Hobbs, enters door left. Commons, that is Sir Ralph, says to you, "You've been a long time gone." And you reply quite correctly, yes. All the same, you must really study that yes. It's a defiant yes. Your yes is literally the beginning of the end of your relationship with Sir Ralph. I mean, Commons, of course. Or you disappear completely after Act One. All the more reason to seize your opportunity. Now, throw that yes right up into the gallery. They must hear it distinctly in the back row. Try again.
Yes.
Well, that's a little better. Go on.
No.
What do you mean, no? Go on with your scene.
No.
Young man, I am the director. I order you to go on. Are you refusing to go on? If you do, it will lose you your job and a part with acting with Sir Ralph and Sir John. I'll give you one more chance. Do you refuse to go on?
No.
Well, I'm very glad for your sake. I don't like to see a young actor throwing away a great chance. Who knows? You yourself might one day be a theatrical knight. You'd like that, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Good. Then we'll forget this little dispute. Go on with your scene.
No.
I have never in 30 years as director heard such impertinence. Are you ready to rehearse or not?
Yes.
Then go ahead or get out.
No.
Yes. I see you do say no. I'm sorry. Now, Sir Ralph says to you, "I suppose you never thought of the anxiety you were giving me when you didn't return home for dinner." And you reply, no. That's quite correct. I misunderstood. But all the same, I'd like you to practice that no. It's got to reach the gallery too. You are still defying Sir Ralph, and now Sir John, I mean Edward Crookshank, emerges slyly from door right. Happy to see that once again he has broken up the relationship of his old friend Sir Ralph. That is to say, Commons. You follow me?
Yes.
It's a very daring play. When I was young, nobody would have produced it. We could never have hoped to have cast Sir Ralph and Sir John in a play of this kind 30 years ago. It would have been forbidden by the Lord Chamberlain. I don't suppose you've ever heard of the Lord Chamberlain?
No.
Well, I never met him myself. We always had to talk to a colonel in the Guards. Oh, well. Outre tombe, outre meurt. Do you speak French?
Yes.
Well, it's always a good thing for an actor to talk French. Not that it's much help in this play, except that it might prove useful in Act 2 when Commons, Sir Ralph, has become attached to a French acrobat called René. I mean, surely you've read the play that far.
No.
Well, René has a much better part than yours. The beginning of an affair always contains much more dialogue than at the end. Perhaps I might get you to understudy René. If anything happens, anyone could take your part. But if René fell in, you'd have a great opportunity. There's one scene of tremendous passion when Sir John discovers René with Sir Ralph. I mean, when Commons discovers René with Crookshanks, as you were, when Crookshanks discovers René with Commons. I mean, do you mean to say you haven't even glanced at Act 2?
No.
You must realize the importance, if you're ever going to be a good actor, of understanding the play as a whole. However few words you have to say in Act 1, they have to fit into the frame of the whole play. You haven't read Act 2 or Act 3, and that is why your yes is so feeble and your no lacks all authority. Now, don't let's get angry with each other. I want to help you. Now sit down and relax. Have you seen this play of Privet's?
No.
I'll get you house seats. It's important you should realize what Privet is after. Now, in the Apollo play, in his staccato style, he's making a great satirical statement about the heterosexual world most of us live in without realizing its falsity. In our play, the play of long pauses, he's making a great satirical statement about the homosexual world most of us live in. Do you follow me?
No.
Let me put it more simply. In the play at the Apollo, he expresses the betrayal inherent in any homosexual relationship, as you were, in any heterosexual relationship. And in our play, he exposes the betrayal at the very heart of any homosexual relationship. You do follow?
Yes. Yes.
You've got to bear all of that in mind when you say yes and no in this opening scene. Your yes has to be abrasive and your no a little scornful. It was suggested at one time that Privet should write a part in for Sir Michael in Act 3, but I argued that 2 theatrical nights would give the play dignity, but 3 might turn it into some sort of a tournament. Tournaments were pretty rough. If one of the knights got knocked out, it would be very difficult to find a replacement. No one can really understudy one of the knights. Not you, and certainly not the French acrobats. Don't you agree?
Yes.
Not that I underrate the importance of your minor role in the play. You know the old rhyme about the Battle of Waterloo? For want of a nail, the battle was lost. Think that you are a nail an important, vital nail. Now, with all this in mind, let's look at the scene again. Sir John, Commons, Cruikshank interrupts. In his sly, troublemaking way, he says, "You have better things to think about, I suspect." And you reply,
Yes.
No, here you have to make a long pause. You're deliberately insulting Sir Ralph. Commons, it's the end of the affair. Try again.
No.
No, yes, damn it all. I can't understand why you're not word perfect. You only have to say yes and no in the right order. Imagine the disaster if on a single occasion you say yes instead of no, or indeed no instead of yes. The whole meaning of the play can be altered in a flash. An actor can trip over a long speech and recover. He gains support from the context. But yes and no, these words have no context. They stand in their dignity and certitude alone. Sir Ralph is expecting yes, and you say no. Sir John waits for his cue, and you say no instead of yes. What can they do? They'll need time to recover. There'll be a sickening pause, not one of Privet's pauses. Now, try again and get it right. Remember, it's the end of the affair. Sir John says, "You have better things to think about, I suspect." And you reply,
Yes.
more boldly.
Yes.
Better. You do understand, don't you, that I only want to help you. You have a lot of promise. If I'd known you'd spoken French, I might have given you the part of Renee. French actors are so unreliable. Now, what happens after yes? Sir Ralph, Commons, is touched by jealousy as Sir John Cruikshank intended, and he says, "What better things?" Of course, you don't answer. You stand silent. Now, better stand up and we'll act this out together. We must get this scene right. A lot depends on it. I'll take Sir John's and Sir Ralph's part. "I think he's been to the circus." "The circus? Why the circus?" "There's a young French acrobat there called Renee. You've been to the circus, haven't you, Hobbs?"
Yes.
A little bit more incisive.
Yes.
Bravo, we're really getting somewhere. Now, Sir John, Commons. No, it's Cruikshank. "You can't keep a young man in chains, Cyril." Sir Ralph, that's to say, Cyril. Have you ever felt in chains, Henry?
Yes.
Isn't it no?
No.
Ah, you're right. It's yes. I can see it's yes. Say it quite calmly this time, perhaps with a touch of irony. Just a touch, no more. And cold. Cold as ice. Have you ever felt in chains, Henry?
Yes.
Not half bad, but I have an idea. I think this is the moment for a pause. I mean, Privet hasn't mentioned it. It'll be a surprise for him. You see, you want to keep Sir Ralph on tenterhooks. He still wants you to stay. He hasn't yet met Renee. That plot has been laid in devilish secrecy by Sir John. It was he who sent you the circus tickets anonymously. Tomorrow, he will take Sir Ralph to the circus, and your reign will be over, and Renee's will begin. But not for long. Oh, no, not for long. For in Act 3, Sir John, that's Crookshank, disposes of Renee in his turn. There's something quite Shakespearean about Privet. Aren't you reminded a little of Richard III?
No.
That's because you haven't read the whole play. You don't begin to understand why Sir John is intent on breaking up every relationship Sir Ralph has, and yet it's explained quite clearly in Act 1. I mean, surely you've read the beginning of Act 1. Why, it comes just before your first scene. You must have read it.
No.
Incredible. You've simply read the parts where you have something to say?
Yes.
By God, I'd replace you. But it would upset Sir Ralph. He hates changes. Now, do listen carefully. What happens after yes? You move slowly across stage to door right. Sir Ralph says, "Where are you going?" You don't answer. Go on. Move slowly. Sir John. He's only going to wash his paws, aren't you, Hobbs? Now, stop in the doorway where you are now. You are about to speak the most important line Privet has given you. You must milk it for all it's worth. You turn back to the room and the two old men. Everybody wonders what you're going to say. Privet indicates long pause. That's where you went wrong yesterday. You hardly paused at all. You've got to develop an actor's sixth sense here. You must feel the suspense in the audience. You are the center of attention. You must break the silence and speak only just before they grow impatient. Now, go on. You feel the moment has come. Speak.
Yes!
No, damn you, it's no!
No?
Oh, I'm sorry. My mistake. It was no originally, but I remember Privet altered it. He said no was too obvious and it spoilt your re-entrance when you come in wearing a bowler hat and carrying a suitcase. And Sir John says in his sulky, sneery way, I think you're seeing the last of Hobbes. And Cyril says, you aren't leaving?
Yes.
Oh, no, you say nothing. You walk out, you don't say yes and you don't say no. Surely you can remember that.
Yes.
I hope to God you remember on the first night. Now look, young man, I still believe that I can make an actor out of you. Now sit down in that chair and I'll try to explain to you what Privet's play is about. You don't understand Sir John's motivation?
No.
Or his relationship with Sir Ralph?
No.
Just before you return from the circus, the two old men have a very moving scene together. They're sitting as we are sitting here now, and they are remembering the past. Their first meeting at school when Sir Ralph was Sir John's fag. As you were, it was Sir John who was Sir Ralph's fag. Their love for each other dates from that time, and Sir John's jealousy. He couldn't bear Sir Ralph's friendship with any other boy. Well, they can both laugh at it now, of course, but we detect behind Comyn's laughter, I mean Crookshank's, that is Sir John's, the jealousy which still lurks there. Sir John plays on the fact that Hobbes has not returned for dinner. He makes Sir Ralph uneasy, for Sir Ralph is deeply attached to you, of course. I mean, Comyn's is. Well, perhaps not so very deeply, for in the next act we see him in love with Renee, the French acrobat. And then the French acrobat deceives him with Sir John for money. It all comes out because of a handkerchief with Guerlain's scent on it. Like in Othello. The handkerchief betrays all. I told you, Privet is quite Shakespearean in his ideas. Have you followed me this far?
Yes.
The last act is very, very bleak indeed. Sir Ralph has quarreled with Sir John, as we all of us think, irrevocably. Sir Ralph is alone, as it were, in the desert created around him by Sir John. The window cleaner comes to the house, a good young-looking man with ideas above his station. He breaks a pane of glass and cuts his hand. Sir Ralph bandages it with the very handkerchief that had belonged to the French acrobat. He says very tenderly, and I can't tell you how very, very moving Sir Ralph is at this moment. Poor boy. There is a long, long pause. Perhaps the longest pause Privet has ever given us. Sir Ralph's eyes are full of unshed tears, and I can assure you they will be there unshed every matinee and every evening, even if we run for a year. Wonderful, wonderful, Sir Ralph. The door left opens. Who is it? Sir Ralph is bent over the bandage. He raises the window cleaner's wounded hands to his lips. We see that it is Sir John who has returned. Sir John sees the window cleaner. He says only one word. Ralph. I mean, Cyril. And the curtain falls. What a play! What an author! What actors! To think, young man, you could be one of them if only you would learn your lines. You will be on the stage taking the applause between the French acrobat and the window cleaner. Young man, can't you realize now that the whole success of the play may depend on you getting your yes and no right? Can't you see how important your part is?
Yes. And no.
Olá, bom, gostaria de agradecer a presença de todos. Eu estive acompanhando no site, vi que muita gente está reassistindo, então muito obrigada. Bom, eu gostaria de agradecer aos meus atores. First, I want to say thank you, Steven Oliver, and thank you, Vladimir Chabak. So, guys, you want to say something?
Yes, can I just say it's been an absolute privilege. It's been really exciting doing this kind of international collaboration. Who would have thought that we could be millions of thousands of miles away with different time zones and, you know, and still be able to make theatre on screen, you know, in this awful COVID environment. It's a breath of fresh air to be able to do this kind of material. So full marks to you, Karla, for bringing this together. I think it's a very interesting project. And to also to people like Rafaela, who's kind of done all this, looked after all the sort of technical side, and all the other team. I probably speak for Vlad as well, but we felt very supported in the whole process. Vlad, anything you want to add to that?
Nothing, basically. It was really it was a big pleasure to work in this kind of project. It's for me first time to do something like this that we're doing online and in different locations, and then we are directed from Brazil, and we are also in different places. It was really a pleasure to work on this, and I can say something on my language or people who watching us. So to translate a bit. Bilo je veliko zadovoljstvo raditi na ovom projektu. Divno je ovo kad se mogu spojiti ljudi sa različitih kontinenata I naravno zahvalan sam Karli i Stevenu i cijelom timu koji je radio na ovoj predstavi i bit će mi naravno zadovoljstvo uvijek da radim s njima u nekim sljedećim projektima. I hope guys that you understand everything what I said.
I agree with you, even though I speak no Bosnian. Yes.
Very much, guys. Muito,
You're welcome.
muito obrigada.
Our pleasure.
Bom, gostaria também de agradecer a Rafaela, que esteve fazendo as legendas ao vivo, está aqui do meu lado. E ela também fez a tradução da peça inteira. Foi também minha assistente de direção, me deu muito apoio. Gostaria de agradecer Bia Lima e Yasmin Viana, que estiveram na preparação corporal e também em todo o processo. Muito obrigada, meninas. Gostaria de agradecer Alexandre Brandão, que foi meu diretor de arte. Gostaria de agradecer os meus orientadores, Eleonora Fabião e Marcelo Ferreira. Muito, muito obrigada. Gostaria de agradecer ao Lucas Ferovano, que me ajudou na produção, e também a Érica, nossa produtora do curso. Gostaria de agradecer um agradecimento muito, muito especial à SWAT, Sistema Universitário de Apoio Teatral, e a José Henrique Moreira. Muito, muito obrigada, gente. Esse segundo dia foi simplesmente maravilhoso. Obrigada pela presença de vocês e por todo o apoio. Boa tarde.